My name's Natasha Janik, and I lead product marketing for the tech industry here at Salesforce. And I want to thank you all for joining us this afternoon, everyone here in person and everyone joining us on Salesforce Plus. All right, so we recently surveyed 450 tech leaders about their top challenges and their top business priorities. And you're actually the first to hear some of the results of our first ever Tech Trends report coming later this summer. But when we asked them about their top challenges, what keeps you up at night? The first thing was changing customer expectations. Buyers are making their purchases differently. Competition is becoming more fierce. Markets are becoming more saturated. And macroeconomic conditions are still a big concern. So it's no surprise that this is impacting business priorities. First, with driving more revenue growth, product innovation is a big focus, and improving the customer experience. But what I think is keeping a lot of our tech leaders up at night is that 55% of tech companies expect to miss their revenue target this year. But in conversations with our customers, we're hearing a lot of focus on product innovation as a mechanism to drive revenue growth and improve the customer experience. Now, this makes a lot of sense because your product is your differentiator. And a majority of tech leaders plan to increase their investments in product innovation over the next 12 months. Now, how many of you, though, are also investing in AI to improve your go-to-market functions, your sales, service, marketing, and making them more efficient? Well, out of the companies that we surveyed, almost 3/4 of them are either building some or all of their go-to-market agentic capabilities themselves. Now, if innovation is what's going to drive revenue and improve the customer experience, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to spend those resources on building AI for your front office, because that ROI is going to come from building AI into your products. And in fact, more than 30% of AI projects are going to be abandoned after they start. So as you're driving incredible innovation across your business, ask yourself, do your teams also have the capacity for additional projects for your go-to-market teams? Do you have the capacity to train and retrain AI models? Can you risk getting halfway through a project and then abandoning it? And 6 months from now, do you have the resources to maintain those models? If any of those answers are no or I'm not sure, our answer to that is don't DIY your operational AI. And that's why we believe that Agentforce for Technology can help our customers drive cost-efficient growth with digital labor. Because we have to drive revenue without increasing headcount, improve net revenue retention, and improve customer acquisition. And with Agentforce, you can save time and resources with pre-built skills that can be customized to fit your needs for your businesses in high tech. And enable agents to not only retrieve information, but to take action that drives revenue, like qualifying leads or creating adoption campaigns. And then bringing in all of that important data, whether that's product usage data that may be sitting in a data lake, billing data in an ERP, and ensuring that your agents have access to that without having to train and retrain AI models. And then finally, ensuring that agents become part of your teams and have seamless handoffs between your human teams and your agents. Now you may be thinking, can't I just build this on my LLM? Well, the answer is you can, but we're going to talk about how Agentforce is more accurate, faster, and more secure. First, let's talk about accuracy. It all starts with the Atlas reasoning engine, and we like to think of this as the brain behind Agentforce. And it's the same way we would think about a problem, right? How we would reason about how to solve a problem and whether the action we're taking is the right one. And the best way to illustrate this is through an example. So here we have a customer who is asking a service agent, hey, I can't access this specific feature. Now, through retrieval augmented generation, or RAG, Agentforce determines that, this isn't due to a product outage, So we're going to classify this as an account management topic. And this is just an additional topic that's been configured on top of our service agent. And then Agentforce just follows the instructions as we've built them, validates this user, and then changes the permission sets. And as Agentforce continues to take action, it continues to learn. And that means that Agentforce is 75% more accurate than your DIY methods. Now you may be thinking, that sounds great, but sounds like a lot of configuration. And I'm here to tell you that that's not necessarily true. There are a lot of out-of-the-box templates and prompts to get you started. And Agentforce reduces prompt engineering by 90%. Here we have an example of our customer support agent that's built on top of our service agent. And it can answer questions like, how do I use this product better? And Agentforce can be configured with natural language. So even if you want to augment an out-of-the-box agent, it's as simple as if you were giving an employee a set of instructions. Now finally, a lot of our customers have questions around security and trust. And so the trust layer is what provides that layer of security needed to ensure that your data remains secure within your org. So what happens when a prompt is sent to Agentforce, we mask that data. So for those of you who may be selling into regulated industries, maybe you have PII data that you need to protect, that data is masked before it goes into the LLM. And then with our zero data retention policy, none of that is stored in the LLM. Once that response comes out, there's toxicity detection and an audit trail to detect where your AI is interacting with your users and with your customers. And then that is always assessed for quality assurance, making sure that Agentforce is giving you the best response possible. We ran an independent study earlier this year that found that it would take 12 months to build the equivalent of the trust layer. Now, I don't know about you, but agents are moving very fast, and none of us have 12 months to spare. Now, we have a customer who is already on their Agentforce journey and is going to share some of their learnings with us today. So I would like to welcome Jeremy Durham from Paychex and John Orifice from Salesforce.
Thanks, Natasha. Appreciate it. Jeremy, welcome.
Hey.
It's good to see you again.
Good to see you.
Yeah. So before we get started, tell us a little bit about your role at Paychex and what brought you to be so invested in agents.
Sure. Yeah, I've been with Paychex almost 28 years now and held probably just a role in just about every type of organization, frontline leadership, up through IT, product, sales, service, which has really helped from an Agentforce perspective to understand the different capabilities we can bring together. But probably the most important thing right now is part of the role is heading up our service strategy, standards, and execution, which is tied right into one of the use cases we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. So Paychex is a trailblazer. You were part of our Agentforce program, pilot program. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about the process you went through to choose the agent you did. I believe it's called the time clock agent.
Yeah.
What led you down that path?
Yeah, so let me tell you a little bit about the use case we did. And for us, we have served small and medium-sized businesses in all arrays of things from payroll to time and attendance. Anything you could think about that you get from your employer, we really have under one roof. And time clocks is a big piece of those people that have hourly employees. And it's a complex scenario for us. So what we did was we built out a scenario where basically when time clock questions come in, we're now, through Agentforce, offering up those specialists the ability to know who the customer is, what actual hardware they're using with us, and that starts them right off on the right foot to know, hey, what's the narrowed down set of things that I really need to do to help them troubleshoot the issue? They're getting back agentically the knowledge that will help them through the steps. They're getting email summarization through the system to help them with what happened with it. Some clients want those steps back in case they have to try again or the issue comes up again, so they have that capability. We're opening up the cases automatically inside of Salesforce so that we can have the ability to see what happened in the occurrence and the problem. If it gets solved on that first call, we actually close it out with the details so we can do after the fact analytics and understanding what's trending with our issues. And if there's something happens that we can't solve the issue while we're on the call, we're actually able to escalate that to the next level, turn the case into that, add the extra information so they're not having to put that information in, and push it up to that next level group who's going to work on that and solve that issue.
Yeah, that's great. So I know as people kind of dip their toe in the water with agents, measuring the success is such an important part of the journey. What kind of success have you had with this agent so far?
So probably the first thing to start with is just some of the quotes from the frontline service people that are having to use this, and we rolled this out to, and they're coming back fast and furious for these guys, telling us like, hey, I've never been able to get this information back this quickly. This agent's been a godsend, like all these types of things that are making it really easy. But maybe one of the more impactful ones that turns into, all right, show me some stats, is the fact that they're like, I'm able to solve so much more on my own without having to escalate. And why is that so important to us? Oftentimes when we're escalating an issue with a time clock, it means that there's a hardware issue where we're going to do a replacement of that clock is the outcome very many times. And so every time we're doing that, it's a cost to the client, often a cost to us. And so reducing those down, and there's a time where they're out that clock while they're waiting for the new one to come in. And we've seen almost a 25% reduction early on of escalated issues going to replacement. So we're solving them earlier because we're getting the information to everybody, and they're getting more consistent ways to solve those issues. So we expect that to even go up as time goes on, as people get more comfortable with the agent and the agent assist.
Yeah, that's great. I know in our prep we also talked about how some of the employees have actually named the agent. I thought that was kind of cute.
Yeah.
As they start to work with it and become familiar with it. So cool stuff. So we're talking all about the agentic future, build versus buy, right? The pros and cons of that. As you thought about time clock, as you partnered with us in this pilot program, why did you choose this as the first use case?
Yeah, I'd love to have this really robust answer for everybody with all this, great jargon and latest talk tracks on AI, but really, John, I want to put you guys to your paces. I wanted to actually see how much of what you told me was real.
And you did. Thank you for doing that. Yeah,
absolutely.
Appreciate that.
Right? Yeah, and so, hey, we went and said, I want to get to multiple databases at the same time. I want to get and be pulling in knowledge directly. I want to be opening up and automating casework so that people aren't having to enter that data in as opposed to getting on to the next interaction and issue. So we're really trying to pull all those different pieces as much as possible. And I think one important piece on this that I don't want people to miss is often people jump to the most high volume use case because they think that's going to get the most value. And I don't want you to miss out on the fact that there's scenarios where it's just really complex or high handle time in calls with your customers. And when you can narrow those down and solve those, they have a really big impact on those customers when they're spending all that time with you versus just cutting down on the volume. So this was a lower volume use case for us, but a big complexity, and it really paid off.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I do think there's also that hesitancy to do a big bang approach, right, with a high volume use case. And this is really a great way that you guys got started.
Yeah.
So cool stuff. So now that you're further along, I know that's been up and running for 5-6 months now.
Yeah.
We are constantly talking about what the future looks like for agents. What are some of the next use cases, the scenarios, like what's formulating the way you're thinking about the future?
Yeah, there's a couple things going on for us. Some that are, and I know probably ties right to your guys, naming of this, like don't DIY your AI. Like there's some things that we're doing on our own inside of our product, and there's a number of things we're looking at an expansion with you guys around everything from transactions that are related to billing and other things where we can actually even start to go from just helping the agents be more effective on the calls to actually turning those into resolutions before they even get to a human. So that's some of the use cases we're going after, whether it's complex billing scenarios or things with people's taxes that we help them with a lot. Those are the things that are jumping to mind that we're really going after next.
Yeah, I also love, Paychex has been doing a lot of ideation around it, right? Hackathons, bringing ideas forward. I think Shark Tank was an idea we just talked about yesterday.
Yep.
So really, I love how Paychex is investing in the employees to have them bring ideas forward as well.
Yeah.
So really, really cool. So as we wrap here, we just closed on, or Paychex just closed on the acquisition of Paycor. Congratulations.
Yes. Thank you.
Super exciting. What are you thinking about agents from a mergers and acquisition standpoint to accelerate the cross-sell, the upsell, the engagement?
Yeah, so I mean, a couple things that I should say about that. When you bring two companies together, both that have been kind of on the forefront, jumping out and doing agentic solutions and machine learning solutions and things of that nature that have already been hitting the mark for our clients. You bring two of them together, and now we're really getting the opportunity to leverage both the thought leadership in both companies, but also the solutions that both companies have already been going after. Whether it's we've already proven things out with you guys, they've already proven some things out with other scenarios that they've done. Now we can bring that together and really get a multiplier of capability out of that. And so for us, we're looking at how can we use the two tech stacks plus our partners to accelerate some other areas that we're working on.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. Really appreciate your time today.
Absolutely.
Absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
Always good having you on stage. Yeah.
Yep,
Thank you.
Thanks.
Natasha, back to you.
Amazing. Thanks so much, Jeremy, for joining us today. So with Agentforce, you can power your entire front office from lead to renewal. And it all starts with accelerating customer acquisition. So how do you create adoption campaigns, optimize your paid media, to boosting revenue and sales efficiency, from helping your sellers to optimize their leads and to manage their pipeline better. In addition to that, coaching your sellers to be able to sell a multitude of different products, accelerate your new product introduction through sales training, and then finally increasing net revenue retention, from everything to self-service, to assisted service, to service agents. Now, we know everyone is on a different path to AI, and we just heard Jeremy talk about that. So where do we start? I know I've already convinced everyone here to buy Agentforce, so we're just going to assume that. But where do we begin? Well, first, let's think about the simplest use case, right? Those information retrieval agents. And that's a pretty low lift, and that's going to help your individual contributors. So things like helping a seller prioritize their pipeline. And then we graduate a little bit into our autonomous agents. And this is going to take action in maybe a single simple action in a single domain. So think about things like scheduling a sales meeting on your seller's behalf. And then beyond that, we think about multiple workflows. How do we get agents to take multiple actions, maybe across departments even? That can be looking at your upcoming renewals, reaching out to your customer and preemptively creating a quote. And then finally, that's that mecca of multi-agent orchestration, right? Where agents are talking to agents, they're interacting with maybe the agents that you've built for your products. And that's that true business transformation. And these are agents that are working together. Maybe a customer success agent is working with a marketing agent to create adoption campaigns. And if you've tuned in at all this week to our Agentforce 3 announcements, you'll have seen the new Agentforce Command Center, where you can manage all of the agents in your organization and track all of their performance. So keep an eye out for all of this incredible organization or innovation that's coming in the next few months that's going to enable this multi-agent orchestration phase for everyone. Now, starting doesn't have to be difficult because you already have an agentic foundation. You have that unified data layer in your Salesforce apps, and then the role and data and actions that Agentforce can take. And think about the jobs to be done, right? Jeremy talked about this really complex service task that would take up a lot of time. And that's how they approached it. But maybe for other businesses, it's a low lift, high yield task that you can start to automate. Whatever that is, there are out-of-the-box skills that can get you started quickly. And a lot of our customers are taking these and running and then innovating over time. And that's where we see additional capabilities built on top of these skills that augment them and are able to serve your specific business needs. Now, I'm going to stop talking and showing you slides. Well, I will keep talking, but we're going to move on to a demo. And to help me with this demo, I'd like to welcome Bradley Smith, Lead Strategic SE. All right, so we're going to start with Jennifer. She's a business development rep at Welo, and she starts her day in Slack, her command center for all things sales. And she sees that she has a new meeting with Verde this afternoon, and she wants to get ready for it. And Welo's SDR agent has already been at work behind the scenes. Now, Jennifer doesn't only have a notification that she has a new lead. She has a qualified lead with all of the notes between the SDR agent and this customer at Verde. Now, all of this is great, but Jennifer wants a little bit more information. She wants to feel prepped for this meeting. So she asks the agent to create a value prop for her so that she can walk into the meeting confidently. Now, Agentforce can look at all of the notes that exist around this account, It can look at Welo's product catalog. It can even pull in third-party data from competitive intelligence, from value propositioning, and create a value prop sheet for Jennifer to take to this meeting. Jennifer then asks the agent to take all of this information and drop it into a canvas so she can easily access it for her meeting with Welo, or for her meeting with Verde later. And then the agent does this quickly, and everything is loaded into the canvas so that Jennifer can be ready for this meeting later today with Verde. Now, if you've noticed, all of this happened without ever leaving Slack. So Jennifer has saved a ton of time qualifying the lead, taking all of these notes, and doing all of this research. But let's switch over to our admin, Chris, to see how this actually happened behind the scenes. Because this was not part of a months-long DIY AI project. This was all built using Agent Builder. And it started with a general FAQ skill within the sales agent. And this is really helpful, but Chris doesn't just want an agent that's gonna assist his teams, because we know any old co-pilot can do that. He wants an agent that is going to take action. So let's create a new action in the asset library. The asset library is where Salesforce has created several pre-built actions for admins to get started quickly. And the great news is that this library is continuously growing with an ecosystem of partners that are building new actions and making them available in the agent exchange. All right, so we're gonna select the general CRM action, and that's gonna allow notes to be logged and the CRM to be updated. And when we look into this general CRM topic, all of it's pre-configured, right? The instructions, the description, all of this is preloaded already in here from the asset library. Now, Chris can take this and just use it as is, right? But he can also customize it to fit Welo's needs. These are those building blocks that we were just talking about before the demo. All right, no demo is complete without no agent is complete without data though, right? So let's take a look at the data tab in the data library. There's already a ton of data from the CRM, but let's say you want to add data that might be more timely. Let's say Welo's running a new 30-day promotion. That promotion can be easily uploaded right here in the data tab so that you can create a RAG pipeline that can assist admin users a lot faster. All right, last step, we're gonna check that the agent is ready to be activated in Slack. Looks like it is. So to wrap this up, in Agent Builder, Chris just created a powerful new agentic capability, grounded in Welo's data, and activated it in the flow of work in just a few clicks. Let's check back in with Jennifer. All right, so she's had her call with Verde, and now she wants to log her meeting notes. Rather than having to swivel chair into the CRM and take those notes and log them there, she can simply give those notes to Agentforce and ask it to log them for her. Now, not only can Agentforce log these notes on her behalf and save her some time, it takes these unstructured notes that Jennifer has taken from her call and will actually make sense of them and summarize them in a way that is understandable for her to reference later. Now, this makes Jennifer so much more productive. She can move on to her next call. She saved a ton of time on admin work, and now she can focus more of her time on revenue-generating activities. But it's not just about the feeling of productivity, right? Welo can see actual measurable results, because with Tableau Next, now in Slack, they can see revenue growth or pipeline growth due to faster lead qualification. And this dashboard can actually be shared in other channels and other threads, or it can also be added to a canvas so that teams can collaborate around this metric. So Welo has saved a ton of time, has increased efficiency and has improved pipeline growth, all because they didn't DIY their operational AI. Thank you so much, Bradley, for helping us with this demo. Let's give it up for Bradley. All right. So to close things out, I just wanted to highlight some of the innovation that we saw in the demo. So we saw some Agentforce for Employees templates. We saw the employee agent, but I wanted to draw attention to some of the other templates that are now GA, like the pipeline management template that is going to help your sellers better prioritize their leads, onboarding and employee help templates that are now available in Slack. And these all take into account the user's information and are accessible in CRM, in Slack, and on mobile. We also saw Tableau Next now in Slack. So this is bringing all of the greatness of Tableau dashboards, making them available in Slack so that you can collaborate in thread on those dashboards. You can actually see what other people are saying about these metrics, all in Slack. You can share them in other channels and in canvases for better collaboration. So all of this is GA today. And if you'd like to see more about Tableau Next in Slack, we will have a session in Theater 3 at 3 p.m. today. And if you'd like to learn about even more use cases about Agentforce for Tech, be sure to download our AI and Agent Guide. This is filled with use cases across your go-to-market teams, product teams, things to consider, things to think about as you're implementing AI. And with that, I would like to say thank you all so much for joining me this afternoon, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your Boston World Tour.